It has been 7 very, very long months since we planted that bed right there with sweet potatoes, and then this one right here. And today is the day we are going to harvest them and see how many pounds total we got of sweet potatoes. We started these back in April or May with a couple of sweet potatoes from the grocery store. So all I did was I got some organic sweet potatoes and I laid them on their side and buried them into my beds about halfway up, and leaving the top half of the sweet potato exposed. And so what that does is it allows the sweet potato to create sprouts, and then those sprouts you break those off and you'll put them into the ground. And if you didn't happen to see that video, I'll put it at the end of this one for you to check out how I start my sweet potatoes. And then we just let them set. We didn't do anything. I mean, I watered them just on the regular schedule. I didn't do anything special, and I didn't fertilize them. I didn't control the pests, and you can probably tell from this bed that I didn't weed them either. I didn't weed them, I didn't fertilize them, I didn't do pests, I didn't deal with them at all. I pretty much ignored them. So this bed got a little bit weedy, and the vines are not very healthy looking. While that bed right behind us right there is very big, very bushy, and very healthy. Now this one used to kind of look like that one, and that's giving me an indication that maybe it might be ready to be harvested. Another thing that's telling me that they are ready for harvest is right here. You can see some sweet potatoes sticking up out of the ground. So those sweet potatoes sticking up out of the ground are another really good indication that they are ready. When they start popping up out of the ground, that usually means that they're pretty full grown. So I figure it's time, let's get them out. Clearly my sweet potatoes have not died back. This one maybe a little bit, that one definitely hasn't. But here in the South, they don't necessarily die back. Even though I do get some frost, like maybe 2 frosts a year tops, my sweet potatoes won't die back. If anything, they will just keep growing throughout the whole season. The leaves might become damaged from the frost, but it'll just keep growing. And the sweet potatoes will just keep getting bigger and bigger. And so at some point in time, down here in the South, you just have to make the decision to pull them. So it can be based off of seeing those sweet potatoes popping out. It can be based off of maybe the vines not looking as healthy as they used to, or it's been 7 months. 4 months is usually plenty of time for them to get to a decent size. That's usually what I wait, but because I was on vacation for that cross-country trip, I was not here when it was time to harvest them. So we're going to do that now. And the first step that I do when I'm harvesting my sweet potatoes is I'm cutting all the vines and taking all the vines off. So you're going to find where the vines are connecting to the ground, and then you're just going to clip them. And that's the easiest way I've found to just start peeling back where all those vines are coming. You can see we got these little tiny sweet potatoes already popping out. So we're going to get all these cut back. And I almost forgot to mention, this is probably another really good indicator that the sweet potatoes are ready to come up, and that is sweet potato flowers. It's not actually super common to see sweet potato flowers down here. They usually, I saw them once in all the years that I've grown sweet potatoes, and then now this time. And they make a really beautiful flower, I think. Okay, after just pulling just the vines, I have these two little guys, these two bigger guys, and then this one that looks like a little person sitting. It's funny because it has a cute little shape, but this is actually concerning to me. You see those little bubbles on the roots? That tells me root knot nematodes. Now I didn't see that on any of the other ones. Like you can see the roots right there, and they look pretty good. So it might just be a portion of the bed. But now we're going to get out our pitchfork and we're really going to take a closer look by digging deep down into the soil and flipping it over to get all the sweet potatoes out. Before we jump into digging them out, we did a bit of a guessing game when I planted these guys to see how many sweet potatoes we're getting out of both beds. So we are going to weigh these and I'm going to show you how to cure and store them. And we're also going to announce who won the guessing game. So let's get this in here. Now, when I dig up sweet potatoes, I make very careful that number one, I'm not piercing my watering line right here. And then number two, that I'm putting the pitchfork into a spot where I know I didn't plant any sweet potatoes, which is right on the edge. Because the last thing you want to do is actually pierce your sweet potatoes. They're still edible, but if you pierce them, they will not be able to be stored quite as long. Oh, which is of course the first thing that I did was pierce a sweet potato. Oh, okay. So we got one. I have never done that before. I have never pierced a sweet potato before. I can't believe I did that. Oh man. Here's some more, some little guys. Doesn't look so great. Got chewed up by something. So we got the first bed done, and we're gonna take a minute and we're gonna weigh all the potatoes that are in here. I'm gonna weigh an empty one first just so I can subtract the weight of the bucket. So the weight of the bucket is 1.7 pounds. So that came in at 15.7-ish. So far 14 pounds out of one bed. I usually get more than that out of one bed, and to be honest, these guys aren't really big for being in 7 months. I usually get like really big ones at 7 months, but these are all pretty small. Not that I mind. I mean, they eat the same, they taste the same. I'm just a little surprised that I didn't get very much bigger ones. Holding out some hope for this one over here in hopes that the big ones are in that bed. Now that bed is called the Hayman variety. This is the Beauregard, that's Hayman. Hayman is a white sweet potato with a white inside, and Beauregard is an orangish sweet potato with an orange inside. So they're two different kinds, and the reason I was growing the Hayman was because I had such a terrible potato season, white potato season, for over a year now, and my streak has continued. I'm still having a bad season for potatoes. I used to be able to grow them like so easily, and now I'm having a bit of a hard time. But I heard that if you harvest white sweet potatoes and you don't cure them, meaning you cook them right away, that they taste like regular white potatoes. So we're gonna figure that out when we harvest these. We're gonna weigh them, and then we're gonna cook one. I'm gonna do a mash, and I'm gonna see if it actually tastes like a white potato or if it still tastes like a sweet potato. So we'll see that together. But now let's get into this bed. And this one's gonna be probably harder, I think. I don't know. It has more vines. That's the harder part. This one had like a lot of wood pieces at the bottom from when I put the bed in, and they hadn't broken down yet, and so I was dealing with like a lot of like logs and stuff at the bottom. But that one's been in longer. That one's been in, I think, a year longer than this particular bed, so I'm thinking that a lot of those things have broken down, or at least I hope so, and hopefully that will not impede me digging them out. And also hopefully, with it being looser soil, maybe I will have bigger sweet potatoes. So let's get to that bed. Now, there is a bit of a caveat to this bed that I didn't mention before. When I was clearing the loofah off of my arch trellis over there, I noticed something moving up in the arch trellis. I found a snake skin. I could have sworn there was a snake up there. Never found him while I was harvesting the loofahs. But my husband came out a couple days later, and a snake came from this bed into this bed. Now, that was, I don't know, before we went on vacation, like a couple weeks before we went on vacation, so it's been like almost 2.5 months or something like that. So I doubt he's still in here, but nonetheless, I'm going to be careful and make sure that I don't stumble upon a snake in here. It's probably just a garden snake, so it's no worry. I'm not afraid of snakes. They don't bother me, but I would rather not get bitten today. Definitely got some already. Now we're getting into some decent sized ones. Don't look white though. This one cracked open. See, here's the white ones. Okay. That's strange though, that there's anything other than white in here. Because I only planted white in here. Yeah, see, I'm seeing a lot of orange. Oh, there's a big white one. There's some white right there. And here's a pretty good sized white one right here too. I'm perplexed though. I'm shocked that there's any orange ones in here because I didn't plant any orange ones. So I'm actually really surprised to be seeing orange sweet potatoes and white ones, because in this bed I actually didn't start them from grocery store sweet potatoes. I started them from slips because I wanted the Heyman variety, the white variety. But I'm seeing orange in there too. So I'm a little confused because I planted this entire bed with just Heyman. So I don't know. I'm wondering if the company gave me the wrong varieties on some of these. I got it from Southern Seed Exchange. Never had a problem with them before. But I know for a fact I only planted their slips in here. And I only ordered Heyman from them. And I see two different kinds of sweet potatoes. So I'm happy to have any sweet potatoes, but I was really hoping for a lot more white ones. And it looks more like a half and half situation. I will say this bed has bigger sweet potatoes than the last bed. I'm still getting the small ones, but so far, just pulling them out really quick while I pulled the slips and the vines off, I'm seeing a lot more sweet potatoes already, and bigger ones. Like, check these guys out already. These are bigger than all of the ones in the last bed. I'm a little bit surprised that that bed that looked so much healthier did not produce as many sweet potatoes. It clearly produced a lot of sweet potato vines, which, by the way, you can eat the leaves. They are great. I love them. Couldn't eat that many, but but they are edible, and they're a great summer green if you want to go that route. I'm so shocked by a couple things with this bed. Like I mentioned earlier, I think that there's like three or four different kinds of sweet potatoes in here. There is a white one, there's your typical orange ones, and then there's like these light pink ones. Southern Exposure, I think you guys might have given me a bunch of different kinds of sweet potatoes, which is fine. But I'm a little surprised. But let's weigh these now. I don't think they're gonna weigh near as much as the last ones. Let's see here. Oh, okay. So we're at 10 pounds for this one and 15 pounds for that one, which has gotta be my smallest haul yet. I can't not say I am a little disappointed. I am a little disappointed because I rarely dedicate 2 beds for sweet potatoes. And that's what I did this year. I dedicated 2 whole beds and I gave them 7 months. There should have been a lot more than this. And I'm racking my brain right now trying to think about why that might have been. And so I don't forget, Nydia, you are the one that won. Yours was the lowest guess at 40 pounds. I didn't quite get to 40 pounds. I'm only at 25, but Nydia's was the closest, so you are the number 1 winner there for the guess. I'm racking my brain thinking about why this bed that looked so unhealthy did so much better than that bed that looked so much more healthy, and why both beds didn't produce as much as I have had in previous years. Could be weather patterns. You know, you never know with those things. We have had interesting weather this year compared to previous years, but we had a pretty hot summer and a pretty long hot summer, and that should have been a positive for it. I started out with store-bought slips, but then in the other bed I had slips that were from a company, a reputable company at that, so that didn't really affect it. I think I got more out of the ones I grew from my store-bought slips. And the only thing I can think of between the 2 beds is that bed that we just harvested these guys out of is more enriched. It's an older bed. I've been working on the soil for multiple years, and I do know that sweet potatoes kind of love sand and kind of crappy soil. That's what they like. It's actually a really great way to enrich soil is by putting them in a bed and treating them like a cover crop, and they help bring in bugs. I saw so many worms and so much different kinds of soil life in there, really gross worms and bugs and all kinds of stuff. It does wonders to help your soil. But this bed actually wasn't very enriched. This is like a year-old bed, and so I really expected it to do well in there, and it did good. I mean, 15 pounds is not anything to say, you know, that was bad. 15 pounds in one bed is awesome. 10 pounds in another bed is awesome. I am grateful for whatever I can get. I'm just a little surprised that it was so little with how healthy those plants looked. And I know that I was thinking to myself, well, maybe if I gave them longer. And that might have been the case for this one because there was so many small ones that if I would have let this go another month or 2, that it probably would have gotten those bigger. But this one, no. This one we just pulled up, I didn't find very many small ones. And that's kind of what tells you, you know, whether you have not waited long enough or not, is if you have a bunch of small ones and not a lot of big ones, you know that you pulled them too quick, too soon, because the small ones will get bigger if you give them time. This one just had medium-sized potatoes throughout. I mean, a couple small ones here and there, but mostly medium-sized. That was pretty much all that they were gonna do. So a little bit surprised. It could be the variety factor, right? I obviously got slips from varieties that I did not pick, and some might not be suitable for my environment here in Florida. Although sweet potatoes should be we should be able to grow pretty much any kind of sweet potato, but who knows, right? I don't know what kind of variety I got. Not 100% sure. I'm going to think about it a little longer. If you guys have some thoughts, make sure to head down in the comments and leave me a note. Let me know what you think happened here. But with our 25 pounds of sweet potatoes that I am happy to have in an assortment of colors, we're going to get these guys in my garage and get them cured. And the curing process is really very, very simple, especially if you're in the South. If you're up north, it's a little more complicated, but here in the South, you have to keep sweet potatoes warm and humid, which is kind of like the opposite of white potatoes, right? White potatoes like to be colder when they cure. Sweet potatoes like to be hot and humid. And the best #1 place to do hot and humid is a garage or carport. You want some place that's also dark, so consider that. That's why I say a garage, probably more than a carport. But if if all you have is a carport or some other place that is outside that's protected from the elements, you just need to lay something over them so that they stay dark, like a towel or something like that. But I'm gonna take these and I'm gonna lay them out in my garage. After I've laid them out in my garage, I'm gonna leave them alone in the garage for 2 weeks. That should do the trick. After the 2 weeks, I'm going to brush the dirt off these guys. By the way, do not wash them. Don't wash them at all. I brush the dirt off of them after about 2 weeks. That's when I know their skins are nice and tough at that point. And then I put them in a paper bag and I put them in my pantry in the room temperature. And they have lasted me over a year that way. Very, very easy item to grow. As much as I would have liked more, they were really, really simple. I didn't have to do anything. It gave me a lot more enriched soil. It kept these beds protected through the entire summer. And it gave me 25 pounds of food to eat, which I'm super stoked about. How did your sweet potato harvest go this year? Head down, give me a note in the comments, let me know how many pounds you were able to grow, and any tips and tricks for all of the Homegrown Florida community, including myself, and what we can do better next year to get an even bigger harvest. So it definitely looks like mashed potatoes. The texture appears kind of like mashed potatoes. Okay, that's different. It's so hard to describe. Man, it's very, very similar to white potatoes, but I'm gonna add a little salt and pepper. It does not taste like sweet potatoes. It is not grainy like sweet potatoes. It does have this like subtle hint of sweetness, and I'm trying to, it kind of reminds me like if you used almond milk, because there was a time that we did a lot of vegan type recipes, and we used almond milk in mashed potatoes, and it reminds me of that. It's really, really good. I gotta figure out how to grow more of these.